Okay. Good morning, everybody. We are back. We are back. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a tough time finding some stories, but I have uh, pretty much I have information coming in all the time. But I was trying to find something on LinkedIn and I couldn't find much. So hopefully people are posting information. Hopefully people are posting information when the day carries on. Higher education does not post that much. That's how we separate ourselves from the competitors and build our own. Like, look at some stories that we do get, and then we build our own thesis, right? In perspective. Hold on. Don't hold on, actually, because I'm about to read the disclaimer. Clean my glasses. I had a migraine this morning, guys. I woke up with one, and it hurt really bad. I get migraines really bad, but it is okay. That's because I didn't wear my glasses yesterday, so that's my fault. That is my fault. Should be good, yeah. Disclaimer. And then I had to join the control room as we set up. My computer too. It was just a weird morning this morning. My computer was slow. I had to restart it. Everything just was not going my way. But that means something good is about to happen when nothing wants to go my way. So let me, where is it? Enter from the control room. And why it's doing that? Disclaimer, the videos presented here are for informational purposes only, and therefore, if you are to choose an institution, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at that institution that you're interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or representing any institution. Speaking on behalf of creator Henry is only speaking from his experience. Let's rock out. Let's rock out. Let's rock out. So as I go into the control room, guys, then we are starting. We are starting. We are starting. Today is Wednesday already. It's crazy, right? Crazy work. All right. So, first things first. And then, of course, we do our research and we dig while we're on the screen. This headliner is about slide. This is called the signs of a slide in state support. So pretty much I called it public colleges set to lose their state funds, set to lose state funds. So this has not been no secret. We've been talking about this, but it's going more in depth about the whole situation. It says about states are getting ready to finalize their annual budgets for the fiscal year. So if many don't know, because I know I learned more about it, definitely in graduate school. Shout out to graduate school once again. And I feel like this camera's cracking. It's bothering me, guys. I feel like y'all can't see me like y'all should, but I feel like y'all can. So it says states are finalized to lose. States are set to finalize their annual budgets for the new fiscal year. Many are slashing financial support for their public colleges, um, meaning your state, wherever state you're in, the money that probably helped your tuition stay level. I always ran to tuition because usually um, when a state either takes some money, anytime a budget, just common knowledge, when you take away from a budget, like the state is taking away from, I don't know if it's just education or higher education, I don't know if it's separate, but usually education. If they take money away, that means more people are gonna have to put money in. That's just been the common, like, I guess, living in life from noticing. When something gets takes away, sometimes the people have to make up for it. Because later we talk about the tuition hikes, which makes sense because if they're getting less money from the state, that means they got to increase the tuition for the students to play. I meant to pay, which is pretty much like sort of supply and demand, but you can see like where it kind of goes together. Take away and add. Who has to make up for the money? Let's just increase their tuition by this much or their fees. So it says over the long term, 1 year's dip or growth in funding may not signal anything significant about public colleges' long-term prospects. Once again, over the long term, 1 year's dip or growth in funding may not signal anything significant about public colleges' long-term prospects. And what they mean by prospects, they mean by potential students, parents, and guardians, about bringing in more students, bringing in more students. How about to say parents, but bringing in more students. But it says, given threats to research funding from the Trump administration, a possible expansion of the endowment tax, and other potential revenue challenges, the cuts come at pretty much an inconvenient, not so convenient time. And right here again, they said this was interesting. I learned about it's called SHEEO, SHEEO. Before I talk about it, it's called this. This is State Higher. Literally, it's called State Higher Education Executive Officers Association. And pretty much what they do, state dollars are allocated for public colleges. So state dollars that were allocated for public colleges grew by 4.3% nationwide in the 2025 fiscal year. So usually now when your state distributes more money to like public colleges, if you went to public college, you should have not seen a tuition increase, but it all depends how your school wants to divide the money up, right? So it's like I really cannot pinpoint what they will do with that money, but they have permission to do whatever they want with that money from whoever is in charge of it, because the president might not even have power over that. That might be like somebody who's a operator or something. Like literally in business, you have a chief, a COO, I believe it's called, or not the CEO, but COO. You have somebody who's literally the operator of the business. So same thing in higher education. We don't know where that money could have went, but it said 4.3% nationwide. And then they have an annual grapevine report. Let's open up the grapevine report because the grapevine report is by SHEEO, and SHEEO is very credible. We use SHEEO in graduate school. I definitely cited them a couple of times. And so here they have their article right here. I can download it. This is a public website, guys. It's SHEEO. If you just type it in on Google, it'll take you there. If you want to look at the data, I understand if you don't, because you just need to go to school. You don't really need to download the data. More like I would download it and look at it. And so I believe it's this. Let's see. Ooh, don't close. Because it would take me to a spreadsheet. And this is why, I get to do this live with you all and break this down. And it's work, don't get me wrong, but it shows you all this. So guys, I wish you can see this right now because it's showing us all the states. So this is gonna be fun to go through. And then let me make sure there's not more information on the in that area. It is. So let's see. So right here it says this is a national table 1 state fiscal support for higher education. So let's see. This is from 2020 to 2025. Perfect. So it goes in did they do it like top down? Like, no, it skips a little bit. It goes from 2020 to 2023, 2024, 2025. I wonder why they don't have 2021 in here and stuff. So I'm a percentage person. And they have it in dollars, percentage. Okay. Then they have, what's the third table for? That's per capita. We don't need that. Okay. Okay. I love it. It's all good data. So, where do we start? So from looking at this, it's going to show me. So they did this one from 2020 to 2024 this way, and of course, so this is table two. I wish you could see it, of course, but this is table two, and so I'm looking at data for the SHIO once again, and then this is their state support, and it says state support only, literally. And then they have a section for federal stimulus. So, of course, we need the legend. It should be and it's a legend at the bottom. And so they have notes at the bottom that I have to look at to make sure I'm interpreting this correct. But this lets me know when I look at a few states, I'm looking at negative percentages, positive, of course, but I need to know exactly what some of the terminology mean, like federal stimulus, because they could be wording it different, but I know the meaning, but when they word things different, it gets a little confusing. So federal stimulus funding is allocated to states for higher education to stabilize state and local sources of funding for higher education and provide additional resources during COVID-19. Okay, so it means the same thing when we got what's it called? Those PPP loans. Pretty much, I mentioned this before. Definitely in 2020, we I know for sure when I was at my 2 year, I definitely got a federal stimulus for going to school. So they have that in here, but I don't really understand why they have it in here. But it definitely plays a part in state support. So in 2020, from 2020 we're going to 2024. Now it's going to skip years once again. So the state support for, I'm gonna start with Georgia because I'm in Georgia. So state support for Georgia on the spreadsheet, the state support was only 30.7%. Now that was in 2020, which was the COVID year. And I'm only focusing on state support because I don't want to confuse us. Now, if we go to 2023, that dropped significantly to 8.5%. And I'm trying to think in 2023, did we see an increase in tuition? I'm not sure, depending on people in Georgia, if you went to school in Georgia. And it depends on the school once again. But I could tell you now from 2020 to 2024, it went from 30%, pretty much 31%, to 8.5 to 3.9. So the state has been cutting, at least the state of Georgia has been cutting their state support in higher education. This is definitely higher education, for sure. Just making sure, because SHIO is specifically higher education. Yeah, just making sure, don't want no surprises. They've been cutting, the state of Georgia has been cutting since 2020. And we're expecting now, as the article said, they said that states are going to cut potentially again this upcoming 2026 fiscal year, which is not good for my people in Georgia. And I know we got people who are in New York. One of the people that watch us is in New York, I believe, but New York has a lot of Ivies and stuff like that, a lot of private schools. So I'm gonna jump to New York and see what they're looking like, because I know it's very common, very popular. So New York never really had state support. Well, public colleges in New York never really had state support, but even they was on the decline. They went from 13.4% to 13% to 3%. So, and this is from 2020 to 2024. Of course, we can't see 2025 right now, but I believe 2025 we had read, just to make sure, they said 2025, yeah, state dollars allocated for public colleges grew by 4.3% nationwide in 2025. But now with everything going on with the Trump administration, we're going to expect another decline. And what that means is that off the data, This is why I love data when they present it. But in this career field, sometimes you have to really look. And I like screaming to you all every day. You have to really go look and find it. And usually, I can't predict the future, first and foremost. But just looking at the decline in state funding, if you go to a public college, you could see your tuition increasing or your fees increasing. And how I know this is accurate, because in graduate school, I am in graduate school, keep in mind, guys, I saw my tuition increase in graduate school. They increased it by, I actually got the email because I'm a student. And I remember looking at it, and you already know I had a fit because I was like, dang, I just started going to your school. You increasing the tuition already? Um, Tuition. Let me see if I can find it right quick and see what percentage my school had increased it by. All right. So they did the little fancy little, our university system didn't increase it since blah, 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 blah. I don't care about that because y'all should have kept it frozen. And pretty much they sent me this. And they sent me this last year, July 19, 2024. So it says in April 2024, the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia voted to increase in-state undergraduate tuition by 2.5% and out-of-state tuition by, 2.5 for in-state undergraduate and out-of-state tuition by 5% for the fiscal 2025 year. Additionally, new tuition rate was established for out-of-country students set at 2% higher than the out-of-state rate. I thought they did graduate. Hold on. Associate level students enrolled in all online courses will be charged a reduced rate for mandatory fees that equals the technology plus 50% of all institution mandatory fees. Undergraduate, graduate, and law students enrolled in all online courses will be charged a rate equal to the total of all board approved mandatory fees. So they increased graduate. They didn't put a percentage on it, but they pretty much said graduate. Everybody who's online is going to be charged what the board approved mandatory fees were, something like that. If I give you the fast track of it, but undergraduate has saw a 5%. No, undergraduate in-state saw 2.5% increase. Out of state, they punish you more for out of state. I don't know why. If you come from a different state, why they do that? I really can't explain that. I'll have to dig or ask people about that because I do plan on going to conferences where I can learn more. One of the reasons why I do want to get a job so that can fund me until I'm getting funded from this. That can help me go to conferences and sharpen my skills because that's what people in higher education do. They don't know no more than I do. All they do, they're supposed to be doing this, looking at data and making the best decisions for the institution. But I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm just saying like sometimes they're not as accurate because I don't think they're interpreting the data right. Because a lot of people don't go to school for this. They go to school for other things and then try to make a career switch because it's more safety and secure in this career field, which is not good for students because you think the student is going to a professional, but they're not. They're going to somebody who majored in, nothing against your major, but if you went to school and your whole career was about a technology pretty much, but you're trying to run a higher education institution and make the best decisions, you might have a technology straight mindset. You don't really have no liberal in there, no liberal arts, no philosophy, no theory, perspective outlier. What's that? Perspective outliers, if I say that right, or like as I like to say, the onion layer model. So let's look at one more state because all of them seem to be decreasing. As they said, it has been decreasing since 2020. Well, after 2020. I did Georgia. I did New York. I'm going to do, who is supposedly, let's do California. I hear a lot about California. So California they got significantly a lot of state help. California had 42% of state support in 2020. 2023, it went to 15.2% of state support only. And in 2024, it went to 10.4%. So once again, it declined. Every state pretty much declined. Some states hit the negatives hard, like very hard. Like Alabama, for example, went negative after 2020. And so, and it shows when your school doesn't get state support, look at how their higher education system looks. Like, no offense to any school in the South, but you just don't hear much about like Alabama schools being very known for academics, right? Just no offense to Alabama, but it's just like it's people who are thriving that went to Alabama school. But normally when you hear about Alabama, you're going to think about the college, the football program or something, right? It's going to be something athletic. It's not going to be about academics. Just saying. So, and I'm in the South, and I know that. And so you just need that state support, and the states are moving away from it. And then it said right here, it says state support has increased by 33% over the past 5 years. It was a welcome bomb for the long-term damage caused by the drastic cuts after the Great Recession in 2008. So once again, I always talk about the Great Recession of 2008 because it hurt so many people like who had money that lost their money. It hurt people, of course, who didn't have anything. They definitely didn't have anything. Then it hurted the people who was trying to strive for something and they lost it. So that 2008 really is like why we're kind of in the situation we're in now. And then the pandemic didn't help at all. That's why I said our generation, like Gen Zers, like we have such a hard pathway that it's like one of the people in my chat said, you either gonna have to have a business or like invest in the stock market, or you're gonna have to learn a very, very, very like skill, like a real skill, and have to establish something for yourself because it's only gonna get harder. It's not gonna get easier. And that's just when you look at data. I'm looking at education data, which can give me an outline of economic factors. So I see we got some people in the chat. No, well, not the chat, but watching the stream. Shout out to you all. I show you love. Even though you're not in the chat saying anything, I still show you love in the chat. So we spoke on that. Let's go to layoffs. So this ties in again with the state support. If you don't have state funds coming in, guys, which means you have to rely on students to pay money for tuition, right? I like to have a little light, guys. If you don't have students enrolling to make up for that state funding that's being cut, then that means you're going to have layoffs because that means no more new money is not coming in. And that means some people have to go. And so within this article / briefing, they spoke on it. There's layoffs. There's an article to it. So the University of Vanderbilt University Medical Center. So fun fact, you all probably know this already or probably seen it, but a lot of colleges have a medical center and they make profit from that. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's really good because your school that has a medical facility allows the future medical physicians, doctors, nurse practitioners, and more. They getting real life experience. So I think that's really good when a school has a medical or hospital attached to it, and it brings in more money. Now, I do think the students should be paid and compensated. I don't know if students be paid and compensated. I do have a problem with that. But Vanderbilt University Medical Center expects to lay off 650 employees as it trims operating costs by $300 million. So I was speaking to a high school class one time about this, and I told them they're in high school, so I try to put it in very simple terms. When you're making a lot of money, you have to be careful if you're going to be on the chopping block because, and my calculator went down. You have to be careful if you're going to be on the chopping block because if you make, let's just say, I'm gonna divide this. I'm gonna say they said 300 million. So 300 million divided by 650 employees. So apparently they're cutting, if my math is right, could be wrong, they're cutting about 461 $461,000, yeah, of worth of salaries or just money tied up to people who help with operating. That could be admin, that could be directors, that could be many more, right? And they're probably gonna specify it in an article if I did the math right. But I divided it. And so, but if you got, the way I gave it to them in simple terms, if you got people who made easily, I always say 6 figures, they might cut some lower people, but definitely the people who make like the 6 figures, the 200,000s, you are on the chopping block. And this article is by Tennessee Outlook. Vanderbilt's in Tennessee? Don't judge me, y'all. I never looked up Vanderbilt personally, but I would be surprised if it's in Tennessee. Don't y'all judge me. Yeah, it's in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, did not know that Vanderbilt was in Nashville, Tennessee. Wow. So Vanderbilt University Medical Center to lay off, we said that, and they said after Trump administration grant cuts. Okay, so let's be clear. If you're, okay, you can't blame one administration for layoffs that quick. Let's be real. If your school, which slash is a company, is laying people off due to one administration cutting grants, cutting stuff, that means your school was already on the edge of money, of being tight on money. They just was getting by and wasn't doing right with the money. Why? Because once again, if I look at companies in the stock market and they're downsizing, this was not a surprise. This is a form of liquidation. It's a financial term. It's a form of liquidation, which means, once again, they're cutting back on like, maybe we won't need that many staff members. Then you're like, we got AI coming around the corner. So we can do, this is part of like AI is taking 650 people worth of jobs. And they're like, maybe we can spend 300 mil, what they had said, 300 million? Now they can take 300 million. Yeah, 300 million. They saying we could take 300 million of these dollars and go invest in AI probably and make up for those 650 employees. Now, are they doing that? I don't know. But this is not just no out of a sudden, all of a sudden layoff because of administration. No, this is because this is what I said. I've been in graduate school for 2 years, going on 3, like kind of 3-ish, because this is my last semester coming up this fall. So I've been said, what if somebody comes, or what if Congress or somebody cracks down on higher education and really start putting policies in place of their spending habits? What's going to happen? Everybody look. I'm not saying that my classmates were clueless, but they were like not in their head, like, yeah, what would happen? Like, because reckless spending never ends well. It's like literally the '08 crisis, because what happened with '08 crisis, people who had terrible like FICO scores, credit scores, like credit scores of 200, credit scores of like a rat in the dumpster were getting houses. And so that's pretty much what we're looking at in higher education. They're getting money, valuable money. I'm sorry, y'all. There's like valuable money from grants, valuable money from donors, valuable money, but schools are taking it and doing what? Pushing toward the sports. What do we see mostly when, at least when I look at stuff from the outside, I don't work there, of course, but I look at it from the outside, I just seen more things being put into the sports and investing in sports and higher education. And some schools do make a lot of money, which makes up and help the school keep running. Most schools are not doing well. Once again, prime example before we keep going on Vanderbilt. You think of a mediocre basketball, football, baseball team at your college, and they put a lot of money in it, and the school never won. Like one of the teams never won 5 games one year. Like, but they're putting, oh, we're going to upgrade our basketball gymnasium. Why? It's not performing. What has been the return on the revenue? And then what has been the bottom line? But you're going to put more. You see, reckless, that's reckless. That's not strategic. Which part of the strategic plan? Everything flows together. And so, but they don't want to hear that. Higher education is one of them career fields. They do not want the truth. They want a lot of yes. And I will do what you say as long as I can keep my job. And guess what? You're going to not keep your job because they're going to replace you with AI now, or just take your job because you was agreeing instead of putting some order in place. So they said the staffing cuts affect employees primarily in research, administrative, just like I said, and other support areas, the statement said. So that's not good because this is the medical center. So if the medical center can't do research, then that means Vanderbilt, when they have patients coming in with new scenarios, right? They be like, oh, we never seen this before. What's the research on it? They don't know. So you could be a unique patient. They don't know how to address your situation, which for all my medical people out there, let me know if this makes sense and if this happens. If they don't know like a particular situation or really don't know what it is, don't they like usually, I seen doctors do that from experience. They'll send me somewhere else because they don't have the research on it. And we all know how the medical field can be or healthcare can be. So that's not good. That don't seem good. It definitely don't seem good. And it said, while this is extremely difficult, the staffing loss represents less than 2% of Vanderbilt University Medical Center total workforce. So they saying less than 2% of the workforce. Okay. To support the affected employees, Vanderbilt University Medical Center is providing servants packages and other assistance. That's nice of them. What is a servant's package? Just in case if I ever end up in this situation. So a servant's package is a compensation and benefits agreement offered to an employee upon the termination of employment, often when the separation is involuntarily, such as due to layoffs or restructuring. It aims to provide financial support and potentially other benefits to ease the transition to a new job. That's okay. That's good. That's good. That's what they say, but they could not be doing this. Vanderbilt University Medical Center sees more than 3.5 million patient visits each year and remains committed to meeting the needs of all who depend on us for healthcare. So it was a real short article, guys. We just went through that. Very little, I wouldn't say article, but very like, what'd you call it? Like a post. But it was by Tennessee Lookout. So this is in Tennessee, little small media outlet probably. That was really good. But I thought that was important because that's not going to be the only college with layoffs. And then they say right here, Cornell University is facing financial measures, auxiliary measures. I'm going to have to figure out, pronounce that word. But it will include workforce reductions, cuts to travel funding, a review of research operations, and the extension of a hiring freeze. There has been a lot of hiring freezes in my career, which made me want to keep live streaming more and keep working hard and keep going because, guys, it's really getting hard out here in my career field. And so I think, and at least some schools are saying they're on a hiring freeze. A lot of schools haven't even said they're on a hiring freeze. And so, which is even worse because you could just be applying to a job and they're just like, we don't know, but we don't want to bring you in. And if we do, I remember literally I had an interview. They brought me in on the interview and they said, before we do the interview, Mr. Felton, we do want to inform you that this position could be canceled. And so, but they didn't tell me until I did the interview. But at the time, it was like the way the timing was with the administration. I guess it had just kicked in for them to tell me. But yeah, it's stuff like that going on in this career field right now. Tough times. I feel like all higher education professionals should be starting their own YouTube right now, or some type of where they can provide information and tap into this $1 trillion industry, because students need this. And it always affects the students, because the reason I'm telling you all this, if we have layoffs of professionals, professors, you're not going to get the best education you need, which means schools are deteriorating in the process. So a school that you thought was going to be good for you is probably not good for you. And like I said, program cuts. So if you was going to, oh, like right here, right here, I didn't even notice this. This is at Columbia College, Chicago. What is that? Is that the Ivy Columbia? So you can see major program cuts, which is majors too as well. Like what's your major in college? You can see cuts. So like if you didn't do your research, and a school would not tell you, they would take your money. They would not tell you. It's just part of the game. Unless they really are good at what they do and they send an email out. Your major that you wanted to go do, mine was organizational leadership, for example. So I'm supposed to go to XYZ school, but they cut my major or my program, but they didn't tell me. But I'm already stuck at the school, so I just gotta choose another major, or I can transfer. But it just really, some students don't like transferring once they get to the school. They just like to, I'm gonna just finish out. So Columbia Chicago College, this is not the Ivy. Yeah, this is a whole nother college. But this college right here is private and nonprofit, 4 year. But this college right here laid off 20 professors, and they're facing a $38 million budget deficit. Had already eliminated 70 staff positions and shuttered 18 majors. That source comes from MSN, if I'm not mistaken. And I click on a little article. We don't have to go deep in that. Yeah, MSN. What is MSN? I know it's a media outlet. What that stand for, though? I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it. So they're facing budget cuts as well. And then we don't have to go deep on that because it's what it says, budget cut. But the next topic we could jump into right now is supposed to jump into, because that's layoffs. How long we been talking about layoffs? No, we keep going, because it's two more. It's two more schools right now. Um, the University of Massachusetts. Please don't talk about me, Lord. It's very hard to pronounce that word. Never could pronounce Massachusetts. I think I said it right just then, but I never had a good chance at pronouncing it that good. Their budget scenario includes a 3%, 3 to 5% reduction, and setting off one professor described as total chaos. Come on, professor, you knew what was going on. Like, come on, professor. Come on. It's, you realize it's all universities. It's all universities. They are being cut right now. It's not 2 year colleges right now. It's mostly universities. Like, it's very interesting. And so, and they say right here, Temple University. I heard of Temple University. I believe they're like a burgundy school, and I believe they're in Texas. I could be wrong though, but Temple, I believe they're in Texas. Temple University. No, they're in Philadelphia. I'm wrong. Temple University, Philadelphia. That guy's name sounds familiar. As part of their Noble alumni. So Temple University they have asked departments to reduce salary costs by 5% to help close a budget shortfall that could reach 60 million. Wow. Now, if they're going to reduce salaries, are they going to reduce the president's salaries and the executive salaries? Or are they going to reduce like professors? That's messed up if they only reduce professors. Because a lot of this is part of, like, no offense, but a lot of money just being paid to execs and presidents. You know, I talk about it. I was doing it like every live stream, but I like doing the breakdown more. But if you like talking about the pay of executives in colleges, let me know, because executives and then the president and athletic directors, they make like, no exaggeration, bigger schools, they make like multi-millions a year. And then a little smaller scale schools, they make millions a year. And then a little smaller schools, they're making like the execs are probably making six figures and the president makes a million. But you can see the allocation structure is not very laid out properly. I believe strongly that presidents of a college should make $250,000 a year, strongly. Max. It should be a cap. And then all the rest of the money, and for execs, like it should be set amounts, like how, well, it should be like that. In politics, they have set amounts they can make. They can't make that much. Just to get off topic a little bit, remember we talking about Temple University. Alice Marie said in the chat, what is the point of shutting out these universities, knowing that they are next ones in these big roles? Knowing they are next ones. What is the point of shutting out these universities? And when you say shutting out, Alice Marie, you mean like shutting down the universities or taking money away? I just want to make sure I'm understanding it right before I say the answer. And I appreciate the comment. I love comments. Please comment. There is no such thing as a bad question. Please. That's how we get new research done and build organic research. What is the point of shutting out these universities, knowing that they are next ones? Yeah, let me know, Alice Marie, what you mean exactly before I answer that. And then after this, before we jump to the next topic, I want to do a little scrolling and see if anything's been posted right now, because it's like 10:41. So let's see, did she post? Did she say anything in the chat? Please retype that. Please clarify that question for me, Alice Marie. I really do want to answer it. So, yes. So the letter came from the president. The letter came from the president, John Fry. He said he asked departments to reduce the compensation by 5%. That's funny, they didn't say that at first. I'm not saying the president. University officers and deans will also forego salary increases. Once again, I did just say execs, right? Executives are always university officers. They're always, and deans. Deans are executive level. Deans are like they're execs, pretty much. They're suits. They're like vice presidents. They have like VP titles, executive title. Literally have executive in there and stuff like that, depending on how they fancy the title up. But they're saying the deans will forego their salaries. What they should be saying is they're going to cut their salaries a lot by like this much. Because I'm pretty sure if we go look at Temple University salaries right now, and we go look at the president of Temple, and go look at salaries on there, I'm pretty sure he gets multi-millions. For sure. For sure. And he's up north in Philadelphia. For sure. The school has lost $200 million in tuition because enrollment has been down drastically since 2017. Boom. Now that makes me mad, y'all. That makes me really upset. Because I just read the first part and it said, university officers and deans will forego salary increases. Why have y'all salary? I say this all the time. And I'm going to keep saying it until somebody reposts it or remixes it and posts it on their Instagram, TikTok or something. Please repost, clip me. Why are university deans, presidents increasing their salaries and your enrollment has been down since 2017? 2017, I was in high school. I graduated high school 2017 May. And I'm pretty sure they've been increasing their salaries. And now in 2025, they want to stop increasing their salaries. They lost $200 million in tuition alone, which means they lost money in fees. They didn't even mention the fees. This is the news reported this. So, this is not real. It's credible, but it's not as like, they're not mentioning details. But if you imagine they lost $200 million in tuition, that means they lost money on paying out the lights on the building, amenities for the basketball courts, the football fields. I only say that, the dormitories. Who you think? So how the bills are getting paid? Y'all losing money. Students are a big part of your tuition. They are a big part of your like revenue. And on top of it, we just looked at it. I still got to pull it up. We just talked about earlier that state funding has not been supporting areas. And this is in Pennsylvania. This school is in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, right? Yeah, Pennsylvania. So they stopped getting, since 2020, in 2020, they were getting 22% support in Pennsylvania. Then it dropped to 10% in 2023. Then in 2024, it dropped to 73%. So schools in Pennsylvania wasn't getting state funding. They were so this school right here is in Pennsylvania. They wasn't getting state funding, Temple University. They were losing money on tuition. And then now they're facing a budget problem. And then, but on the other side of it, execs and presidents and whoever were increasing their salaries. Y'all deserve to be in that situation. No sympathy. That's an F right there. That's an F because they're a public school. So, yeah. That's terrible. Like if you just put the common denominators together, that's common sense. And once again, I would love to talk to anybody from that institution, especially the execs, and we can go over it and look at what they call it. We can look at their balance sheets. We can look at what because I'm putting it together just off perspective right now. But I got data right here in this spreadsheet. State funding, a lot of schools, even Georgia Tech, when I was working there and talking to professionals, they were telling me like professionals who write grants. They were telling me like, oh yeah, Georgia Tech, we rely heavily on state funding. It might not seem, federal funding. It might not seem like it, but they do. That federal money and that state money hit different. I'm telling you, it hit different. It helps a lot. So that's why the Trump administration is attacking it for a reason. It's a lot of money there. And so, yeah, not good. Let's see if Alice Marie clarified. She did not clarify her question yet for us, guys. Alice Marie, if you're in the chat, clarify your question. I do want to answer it correctly. All right, so we're going to go to our next topic, tuition hikes. Everything we've been talking about has played in order right now. From looking at the data by SHEU, for everybody new in here, SHEU, I think that's how you say it. It's SHEEO. I call it SHEU. I don't know if it's SHEU. I think it's SHEU. That's how you should pronounce it. But they are very credible. I'm looking at their data now. They report data for higher education. And then right now I am building a compelling argument based off this. And so tuition hikes. Ooh, tuition hikes. We love tuition. I said I was going to scroll real quick before I talk about this. So I'm going to LinkedIn real quick to see if Linda, Department of Education, posted anything. Because they like to post stuff when I'm live streaming. I'm not seeing nothing. Because I love playing some videos during the live stream. Whoa, what's this? Oh, that's not it. Yo. Okay. I'm not going to say it. Whoa. No, I'm not going to say it. Let's see. No, I'm not going to say that. Where is it? Yeah, I'm not saying much. Once again, that's why I say, that's why we do what we do. We don't really get information from our people. But the Department of Education has really been talking about Title IX a lot. They've been really focusing on Title IX, really not speaking on like the cuts, taking money and stuff of that nature. So it's cool. It makes our job a lot easier because we can go get information. It's not hard, really. Yeah, he just been talking about Title IX a lot, and that's not our area. So going back to what we're gonna do originally. So tuition hikes. So like I said before, tuition hikes are coming. If state funding is not being, if people are not getting state funding or schools are not getting state funding, tuition is down. Why are they increasing the tuition, Henry? Why are they doing tuition hikes? I don't know. I don't know. Because increasing the tuition is not going to make students want to go to school. It's not. It's only going to make them want to either go to a 2-year, take another route, go do the little Google certificates that I see on the internet. It's going to make them want to do another pathway, but they're not going to go to school. That's just not the way to go. So once again, University of Minnesota, they keep coming up. Chronicle higher education. That's where I get my sources from usually. If I don't like it, I want to get some data from my eyes only. Like I want to go look at it, I'll go do that. But the University of Minnesota, well, I already said this. They're going to raise their tuition by 6.5% for in-state students and 7.5% for out-of-state. I had called them out on this on LinkedIn real quick, guys, because I saw a post by their chancellor, and I didn't like that. They're saying they're trying to find less inexpensive ways, pretty much. I actually used it. They said they're trying to find better and less expensive pathways. I didn't like that because they're not. Because how you were trying to find better and less expensive pathways. They was like at a conference or something, I guess. But they're increasing their tuition. University of Minnesota is increasing their tuition by 6.5%. So 6.5%. So for all my people out there in Minnesota, you're about to feel it, especially if you're in state, you're about to feel it really bad. 6.5% is gonna make a difference. And right here, I go look at the SHIU. I go look at the fiscal 2025 data since 2020. If I go look at Minnesota, I'm pretty sure it was a decline. Yeah, they saw state support. State support was only 24% in 2020, as we said before. 2023, it went down to 19.8%. That's really good. They kept their support pretty good 2023, but then 2024, it dropped to 2.5%. And remember, in 2025, they said it increased, but now, upcoming 2026 fiscal year, we're going to see a decrease. Or they should see, everybody's going to see a decrease in state support. So it makes sense that they're going to increase the tuition or raise the tuition by 6.5%. And once again, guys, it's really simple. But you see how it affects you as a student, like your pockets got to suffer. And so this is why I say start at a 2-year and then bridge to a 4-year. Because I haven't heard anything. That could be bad, but I haven't really heard anything about 2 years increasing their prices significantly. You can always, now when I say go to a 2-year, guys, I'm not telling you to do a trade. I prefer you to go there and knock out your gen ed classes, like your math, English, art, or if you do art, history, econ. Knock out those classes because your 1,000 and 2,000 or 101 and 201 classes, they transfer to the 4-year. And because your first 2 years at your 4-year, your first 2 years at your 4-year, you're going to take those same similar classes. But the only difference is at the 2-year, you're taking them for affordable costs. And 2 years are trying to run with that now for some reason, to get more students too, because I guess they're trying to get like, if you ask me, for the longest, I feel like 2 years and 4 years, I feel like 2 years, you had a lot of people there who worked at 2 years, but they didn't believe in it. And then how I know they didn't believe in it, because when I was at my 2 year, I seen a lot of professionals who worked there, but they would send their kids to these 4 years, and the professionals made a lot of money at 2 years. Like I said, higher education is a lucrative field. You get good benefits, at least in Georgia. You get pretty good benefits, besides the healthcare. But I don't use the healthcare. I use the military healthcare. And they would send their kids to expensive schools, and then a lot of those professionals, their kids will not be focused at them universities, and they'll end up at a 2 year. And I felt like at my 2 year, I guess they seen how good I was doing at the 2 year, and their kids started going to a 2 year. I kid you not. Like I always go visit my 2 year and talk to the professionals, and their kids are starting at 2 years and then going to 4 years. Cause they seen, like, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, I know for sure from that time when I got there, they was like, oh yeah, my kid is going to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, they ain't getting more money than me. That was the mindset at the time, because I was trying to stay confident. And I'm just competitive at heart. I'm a real competitive person, guys. And a lot of people did used to talk down on the 2 year for sure. And so now I feel like it's changing rapidly from the time when I was at my 2 year to 2020. I got out at the right time, apparently, because the state stopped helping after 2020. And so when actually it was a good time. If you was in college before 2020, you was seeing some good, like, you had good prices in tuition. And like I said, this is all because of what the pandemic, 2008. This is all because of some history, right? And so another college that's facing problems is Minnesota State University. And then they're different schools. Like, you might have University of Minnesota, but this is Minnesota State University. So meanwhile, Minnesota State approved tuition increases ranging from 4% to 8% across the system's 33 campuses. So I'm gonna look up Minnesota State. I never seen their logo or anything. I could be wrong. I probably have, but excuse me. And I'm gonna post that clip. Temple University. I'm gonna make sure to clip that, guys. And remember, and I'm writing in my notes, because that's what helps me out a lot when I go back and look. Clip. Versus. Then I put a note to myself. Really good. We cooked on that one. We really did. And so Minnesota State University. I never seen this college in my life. Yeah, I never seen this college in my life. But they're the Minnesota State University Mavericks. I don't know anything about this school ever. So they're public, of course. Might have to do a review on them. I never heard of this school. So Minnesota State, where's the article? I want to see who posted this. So this is by their this another Minnesota outlet, new media outlet. It's called the Minnesota. I keep moving the title. Guys, come on, don't do this. Oh wow. They said, well, it's the Minnesota Star media outlet. But what they want me to do, they want me to subscribe and pay. I'm not going to do that, because that's a very small town article. But they're going to raise and I'm pretty sure the Chronicle Higher Education didn't pay for it, because they only put a brief little quote in there. But they said Minnesota State University is ranging from 4% to 8%. So if you out there going to Minnesota State University, you're going to see a 4 to 8% increase in your tuition. And I've been looking at the Cold Light, Minnesota, Lil Yachty, Cold Light, Minnesota. So the University of Nebraska, they're going to increase their tuition by a 5%. this year after 2 straight years of 3.5% increases. My goodness. They've been increasing. That's 7%. That's a 7% increase for the last 2 years. That's a 7% increase. Then they're going to increase it by 5%. 5 plus 7, what's that? That's a 12% increase. My goodness. They about to outperform the S&P index, increasing the your money don't even make. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started on that. If you got your money in the bank, you losing money to pay for school. My goodness, that is crazy. So this is an article. Yeah, this is an article. I think they got citations in here. Ooh, hey guys, we might have to go over today because I'll be digging and looking at these articles with you all on the live screen. And once again, if you know I'm talking about a school or mention a school somebody else goes to, tell them to fast forward to the section because I understand if you can't watch a whole video. I get it. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button too because I understand. Like you might just care about your school or you're trying to get certain information. Just, ask me and I'll talk about specific things for you. That's the whole point. We like pulling articles though because it's data. And it's like usually it's going to trickle. It might not happen today, but it definitely will happen. At least with me, because I'm pretty accurate when putting something together in my head or saying that out loud, and then looking at the data and writing it down. Because I got a lot of information. Working with you all, shout out to you all. When I go back to class in August, I'm gonna have a lot of information. We gonna be writing about a lot of stuff, and y'all gonna make it a lot easy for me to talk about things because this keeps my brain flowing while I'm not in college. Well, not in school right now this summer, and so I'm not losing my skill set. I'm training every day, pretty much, and so pretty much the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. Once again, I always say this if you're new to the channel, every state has a university board of regents. Like we have the state of Georgia board of regents, or like Nebraska, they have the Nebraska board of regents. Everybody has a board of regents, and there's a community college / technical college board of regents in every state too. Everything has to have a structure and board of directors, board of governors in it, known as governance. And so on Thursday, once again, that's today, ain't it? Today Thursday? Yeah. No, today Wednesday. This was on June 19th. Okay, I'm about to say, whoa, how that? So they approved, well not today, but on that Thursday of June 19th, I believe, they approved a 5% tuition increase, right? We talked about that. Well, where it gets interesting, okay, the Reagans approved this in a 6-2 vote. 6 of them agreed, 2 of them said nay. So NU's operating budget beginning July 1st through June 30th, 2026. So they approved the Nebraska University's operating budget. Nebraska lawmakers approved a 0. Almost pretty much, if you ask me, but that's a bit different, so I'm not gonna do that. 0.62% increase in state dollars. 0.625% to be exact. Not 1%, but close to 1%. An increase in state dollars, which is 4.35 million. Should have said that, but I was reading left to right. And it said, which is well short of the 3.5 annual increase Reagans had requested last August. So I believe they wanted the 3.5 increase, but instead they got not even 1%. Okay. Reagans had requested last August, but primarily to cover inflationary pressures. Once again, basic economics. It's a lot of inflation going on right now, not just in our lives, but in colleges. And so, but where it gets tricky, one of my people who be in the chat, I don't think he's in here today. G and Alice Marie usually be in here like she's in here now. And you all probably know too, that wages have not kept up with inflation. And so your college has been increasing the tuition as well. But like me, that's why I started a 2 year for sure, because I knew like part and two, I had other people around me who was more intelligent, because you got to think I'm like 20 at this time. But my wage was not going to keep up with the way college is increasing. So it was my duty and objective. That's why I say it's important, if you can stay home as a college student, stay home. Because I was trying to go, I did move out when I transferred to my university. But if I'm looking back at it now, I would stay home and go to school, even if I'm at my 2 year, going to my 4 year, getting my master's. Maybe I'll move out after I get my master's, but I won't move out until I get a job, because it's gonna be hard, because rent steadily increasing. I pay rent. Rent steadily increasing, but your wage is not increasing. Your income is not increasing. So we do have to keep that in mind. And so to keep going forward, the budget that the Reagans passed also calls for a $20 million in additional cuts across NU's $1.1 billion state-aided budget. So the budget that the Reagans passed also calls for a $20 million in additional cuts across their $1.1 billion state-aided budget. So, who is Pillings? Who is that? Had Pillings, and then she proposed. Did they mention his name before? I'm trying to figure out who name this is, guys, but they didn't really specify this name in the beginning. All right, it says it right here. NU President Jeffrey Gold and like Pilling, who served as a Reagan for 10 years before becoming governor. Ain't that something? The university president, or one of them, Jeffrey Gold and Pilling, one of them, who served as a Reagan for 10 years before becoming governor. So this is why I tell you higher education is really political. But their president, or one of them, the president or the Reagan, one of them became governor. So, you know. And they negotiated for what Gold described as a modest state increase. We want to get to, like, this is all important, by the way. Like, I want to skim through it, but it's really important. And so, and this is in Nebraska right now, guys, because Nebraska increased once again for the past 2 years. They increased by 7% total, and then 5% for this upcoming. Yes, for this upcoming 2025 to 2026 academic year. And right here they say it's a hard day. Multiple Reagans said considering tuition increases at all was painful, but they said it was their responsibility. Yeah, I guess. Many said the alternative would have been to pass costs on to students or hurt the quality of education that Gold said Nebraskans expect and deserve. That doesn't make sense. I'm gonna put that in the chat for you all. That doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. We're gonna talk about this real quick. So multiple Reagan said, I quote them, as y'all can see in the chat, multiple Reagan said the alternative would have been to pass costs on to students or hurt the quality of education that Gold said Nebraskans expect and deserve. So they saying that increasing the tuition is painful. But I don't know what Nebraska looks like, or Nebraska University. I don't know what they look like as far as, like, are they losing? I'm pretty sure everybody is losing money, first and foremost. I'm pretty sure everybody's losing money as a university. Everybody is losing on enrollment. Everybody's losing on revenue. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And so they increasing the tuition is not going to bring in more students. It's not. And so they're being a little selfish. They're not cutting their salaries, man. They're not cutting their salaries. They would rather say, they're saying it's going to help the students. We literally talked about this in my last class. It's called Status of Power. And well, the class wasn't called Status of Power, but we talked about the different statuses of power and how people will manipulate the power, right? And say, like, I can say, guys, I'm trying to help you, right? I'm trying to help you save money in higher education and navigate higher education. But I would charge you all for the information, even though I know that higher education right now is expensive. So I'm not going to charge you guys a subscription out the gate to come watch me. And for one, you don't even know me out the gate like that and know if my information is really going to help you right away, right? So, but they do that and they say like, oh, it's going to benefit the students. So we got to raise the tuition because that's going to help. What they're saying, we raise the tuition, students pay more, we get more professors. That's essentially what they're trying to say. But people are not going because the cost of college is too much. So it's a failed experiment. It's a failed strategic. But let's keep going. Gold said, all right, who is Gold? I'm about to look up Gold because his name keep coming up, and they said I don't know if he was the president or he was the Reagan. So Gold, because I keep saying Gold, and y'all probably gonna think I'm talking Jeffrey Gold. There you go. Let's see who Jeffrey Gold is. We gotta know our people because when we are going to see them again. You know, our phones might hear us talking and be like, "Oh, here's Jeffrey Gold." I'll be like, "What?" So Jeffrey P. Gold is a chancellor of the Nebraska Medical Center. He studied at that's his high school. That we don't care. He went to Cornell University. He's an Ivy. And so Jeffrey Philip Gold is an American surgeon, medical educator, and academic administrator who had been the president of the University of Nebraska system since July 1st, 2024. So he's the president right now, I believe, still. And so that's what the name, I kept hearing that name, and I just wanted to make sure I knew who I kept hearing and seeing. So it's a hard day. They said to be doing this really hurts, said Reagan Barbara Witz of Omaha. It's a hard day, and we have to make hard choices. Reagan Elizabeth O'Connor of Omaha said. Reagan's Tim Clare of Lincoln and Jim Schreer of Norfolk, who succeeded Pillen, said Nebraska University needed to continue working with the legislature. I don't know why that came out like that. The legislature to highlight the critical need for investing in NU. Claire said that while budget woes have monopolized attention, Reagan's need to stand by Gold and his odyssey to the extraordinary strategic plan to improve NU. Literally, that's a quote. We cannot cut our way to prosperity. We cannot cut our way to prosperity, Claire said. We cannot cut our way to prosperity. You cannot cut your way to prosperity? Yeah. Legislative investments. So let's talk about that. Okay. Claire, now in his 17th year on the board, said that rather than looking at state dollars as an appropriation, it should be framed as an investment. NU boasts a $10, yeah, they didn't put no thousands behind it or million. It says NU boasts a $10 return for every $1 investment, according to the most recent economic report, commissioned through the Trip Batch consulting firm. Claire described the tuition increase as a tax on students. Okay. Claire described the tuition increase as a tax on students. Like I said, he said it right here. Claire described the tuition increase as a tax on students. Yeah, I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling it. But I get where they're coming from. But if they have, like I said, if Nebraska having good enrollments, I get it, but they haven't, I don't get it. So I'm gonna go look at Nebraska's data, the state of Nebraska, right? Nebraska is not the state. Yes, it is. I'm about to say, I skipped it twice, went straight over it to Nevada. All right. Now this one's gonna be funny a little bit. I'm gonna tell you why. So Nebraska should have good enrollment numbers. Let me tell you why. So for everybody who in here right now, just got in here, I've been looking at SHIO, which is a higher education, pretty much a higher education data outlet. And so it's about how much the state has been supporting, how much your state has been supporting public colleges. So first I need to make sure Nebraska is a public college, Nebraska University, before I even talk about them, right? Funny football pops up. It's always sports that pops up. I don't even watch sports no more really. Nebraska University. So Nebraska is definitely a, why I did not say football. And they're showing me their football stuff. I don't want to see this. Nebraska University. I'm assuming it's the University of. No, that's a different Nebraska. That's Omaha. Is this the whole time we've been talking about Omaha? Let me see. He's a president of. I have a friend from Omaha. Yeah, I'm trying to see which Nebraska they're talking about. Because, and what's up, G? I'm sorry, I didn't. What college is he at? He's the president at. It says Nebraska Medical Center, but they're not specifying his college. Jeffrey B. Gold College, Nebraska. This is interesting. You see how stuff get complicated? I want to make sure I'm looking at the right school or the right. I know it could be different states. Let me see. All right, y'all making this funny. Ha 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 ha. Very funny internet. But Jeffrey B. Gold is named the NU system president. He's not the president of the college. He's the system president, Nebraska system. So I'm going back up. University of Nebraska. Let's see, that should be, if we say University of Nebraska, so this should be, now it's pulling up when I do University of Nebraska. So many schools with similar names. So now we're saying University of Nebraska. Are we talking about the, in, this gotta be it. This gotta be it. This gotta be. Yeah, in Lincoln. This gotta be it. Because if so, this is the school Warren Buffett went to. So right here it says that's their name, but of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. But now I'm looking at the University of Nebraska. Why we got two University of Nebraskas? That is so confusing. And then they got University of Nebraska at Lincoln. Guys, that is confusing for somebody who's not from there. Oh no, you ain't make me mad, G. No, you ain't make me mad. I know you said just kidding. No. I'm trying to, as you can see, I'm going through these University of Nebraskas and crazy work right now. Like literally, it's two schools that go, all right, University of Nebraska, Omaha. Of course, it's in Nebraska, but why would you name? Why do we have two colleges with the same name? And like, this is in a whole nother state though. But they got the name of University of Nebraska. All right. I'm doing research right now. I'm going to do that. All right. So, one university, 4 campuses, one Nebraska. Let's get to the bottom of the line. So, we got a University of Nebraska at Kearney, and they're blue. We have a University of Nebraska at Lincoln, and then we have the University of Nebraska Medical Center, blah, blah. And then we have the University of Omaha. We have the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So the beauty of it all, so I don't confuse myself, y'all, is that they're all under the university system. So that means they're all in Nebraska. That helps me out a lot because sometimes schools have names and they're not there. And they could have been private as well. So that just took me down a rabbit hole, a smart rabbit hole. So once again with Nebraska, Nebraska had support of 52% in 2020 of state support only, 52%. Then it dropped to 37% of state support only. Then it dropped to 32% of state support only. Nebraska has been getting significant help from their state. And that's really good because that means students probably saved on college, probably. But if you got Warren Buffett as your alumni, he probably donated a lot of money, depending on which NU we talking about. Since they got multiple NUs, I don't know who idea that was. And so, as I'm going back to, well, I'm gonna get out of the investment section. We'll have to, once we keep growing, we can get some finance people in here who can break that down more. But but first and foremost, treating a tuition increase as a tax on students. I'll have to review them and see what they're talking about. But if we go back to the beginning, they said the University of Nebraska, yeah, they're doing a tuition hike. That's what that's the whole topic. They're doing a tuition hike. But they should have specified the university. They just said the University of Nebraska. Like, really specify that. If you got 2 of them, 3 of them, yeah. So, as we keep going down, and then, because this is the last one before we do our, breakdown of a college. And then it's got some forward-looking statements, forward thinking. Once again, you can forward think, which I'm all for, but nobody can predict the future, right? But it's good to plan for the future. So universities don't be in this situation again, but history repeats. And so they have tossed the towel on college. Schaffer suggested NU needs to consider a serious restructure, a restructure without specifying what that could look like, which he said should be investigated over the next year. Who is Schaffer? They said Wilmot noted she didn't support the tuition increase in 2024, and the state legislature doesn't appear to be changing course. She said she couldn't swallow the proposal, knowing Reagan's could return next year for another tuition proposal if the legislature doesn't increase and use funding during its next budget adjustments. I do believe we are going to have kids now toss the towel in of going to college. Wilmot said, we are going to impact a lot of lives. Yep. Whoever Wilmot is, Kathy Wilmot, she's a Reagan. She wasn't supportive of the tuition increase. Let me know how y'all feel about it. This is in Nebraska. And then she's a Reagan. And so G said that happens more often than you think. The University of Washington and University of Washington in St. Louis. Yeah, it happens a lot. Like here in Georgia, you have Georgia State University, then you have Georgia, it's like Georgia College and State University. It's like they literally couldn't think of a better name. Like and subscribe, y'all. Like and subscribe, because they be putting us through the ringer. But to talk about Kathy Wilmot real quick before we do a breakdown of a college. I'm gonna do Nebraska. I'm gonna do Nebraska. Now, which University of Nebraska I want to do, guys? We're just gonna do one of the University of Nebraskas because they have so many University of Nebraskas for some reason. Like somebody should really talk about that. That's really funny. Y'all couldn't think of no better names. University State of Nebraska. Like, just had to keep all the same names. Imagine if you writing a check and you write a check to the wrong University of Nebraska. So I'm slowly roasting them. Like and subscribe, y'all. Like and subscribe. And where is she at? I want to look her up. She's a Reagan. Cause that hit home. That hit home what she said. That hit home what Kathy said. Kathy said, I look up faces too. Kathy said, we're going to change a lot of lives, but not, she didn't say not for the better. She kept it very political. She said, we're going to change a lot of lives, which means if you're in Nebraska, you're going to see, once we look up the prices at one of the colleges, because I feel like they should do a lot better. I think she's sitting with Warren Buffett right here. No, that's not Warren Buffett. That's somebody else. But she said, for example, like we're going to change the lot. We're going to change student lives, but a lot of students are going to throw, like they had a section on it called "Throw in the Towel." Students are going to throw in the towel, man, of going to school in Nebraska potentially. Once again, 7% in the past 2 years, 5% this upcoming school year. Remember, your fees could be included, and dorm, your meal plans and dorms are going to be included. Everything always goes up because power bills go up and rent naturally goes up, and so it's all business. So it's just going to keep going up, right? And I don't know anybody in Nebraska. I seen somebody in the chat. G specifically said he knows somebody out there. So you know, yeah, if you are a student, you have to speak up, man. I can't stress it enough. If you are a student, you got to speak up because when students come together, form unions, or people form unions, it's all, they put different terms on it, like students, protests. It's all a union, forming a union. It might be called something different in college, but students really have to speak up. If you got SGA, you really got to go to them, man, because I'm not even in that state, but I'm telling you that right there, it's pretty pricey. And so I'm gonna review the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. But if they keep pricing you out like that, and then I can't even tell you to go to another state. Why? Because remember, if they tell you if you try to go to school out of state, they're charging you more on tuition too. So it's like you can't go to another state. Remember, you can go to another state, but it got to be in your radius. So if you're like close to the border, pretty much like in Georgia, if you're further up north in Georgia, right, you're closer to Augusta. And then like if you live in Augusta, you could potentially go to schools in like South Carolina because Augusta is close to South Carolina, for example. So you depending if the school allows it, remember, follow up with professionals. You could be charged in state. And remember, some schools will give you a deal to charge you in state versus out of state. And man, it's crazy. It's crazy out here. It really is. And do I see any posts? I got some updates on LinkedIn, but is it in our career field before we do our last thing, breaking down the college? Probably not. All right. Where my college? Oh, because I had to reboot my computer, guys. College Scorecard. Yeah. How y'all feel about that? Do y'all feel like, let me put my glasses back on if I get a migraine again? Those are not fun. How y'all feel about that? The University of Nebraska is crazy though. You should look up a technical university. A technical university. Ha, they do have those. Like a technical university. A technical university. Let's see. Oh, German. It's in Germany. Ah, I don't, Alice Marie, I don't think we can look that up because it's in Germany. It's not part, it's probably not part of, I want to see what it's going to do. But if I look this up on the College Scorecard of U.S. Department of Education, I can look it up for like without this, of course. I want to see what it's going to do. It's probably not going to show up because all these colleges are American based, which is, you know, yeah. And I got an idea on that, but yeah, that school's not gonna pop up because this is an official website of the United States government. So, but we could definitely look that school up though, for sure. Where is it? Hold on, I'm gonna retype this in. So when we come back to this and break this school down, the University of Nebraska Lincoln. That's what we're gonna do first. We're gonna do that, and then if you want to stay for like when we look up what is the school called? Technical University of Munich. Munch. It's in Germany. Do not get me. If you want to stay for that part, please. But if you can't, I understand. But I'm going to do the part you probably want to see and get off this live screen. So that is what I'm going to do for you all. And then we'll do Alice Marie requests. And guys,
Munich.
Munich?
Munich.
Munich. Okay, that's how you pronounced it. I appreciate everybody tuning in to the live stream today. I really do appreciate it. We had good views come in here. We had people come in and leave, but they came in. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So, University of Nebraska at Lincoln. We're going to do this review of it. I'm going to make another tab because I'm going to pull up their tuition and fees, as I always do, as a fact check to see if it's accurate. Oh, and I came across something about Inside Higher Ed. They said normally it was a percentage, but it was a high percentage. Like most of the time, and some of you all probably can speak for this. You know, you have a sticker price on the college, right? A college might be, let's just say, for the year, it's like 10 grand for the year, right? Usually your school is charging you more than that. It's a higher percentage on that, by the way. So, I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting. But when I did my calculations, normally, and when I'm in school, I was always charged what I was looking like, what I was getting charged. Now, unless they doing some back end stuff, and I can't see it. You know how you can't see things even though they're showing you the regular price, but you're still being charged for other stuff and you don't know it. But every time I calculated my tuition per credit hour, I usually was accurate. It was like exactly what I budgeted for. So, tuition and fees of University of Nebraska Lincoln. Scroll. That's why it's quiet, y'all. I don't like. Okay, y'all, fun fact about me: I don't like sitting in silence. I like to have a little music on because like y'all can't hear it because I get a copyright strike. But I love having music on when I talk because I don't know. I just can't sit in silence. And so Peace and chicken grease, G. I appreciate you stepping in with us, man. Drive safe and get your groceries safe. I appreciate you coming in with us. And so I'm gonna turn that down real quick. All right. So University of Nebraska. Where is it? University of Nebraska. University of Nebraska. Where is it? I just had it. So here we go, right here. I love it when they have. I just love when the school has literally tuition and fees on their website. I can go straight there. And so, once again, guys, when we upgrade the studio over time, I will show you this while I'm doing it. So it'll make it a lot easier for you. Because right now, you just have to listen to me talk and do it, and you can't see my screen. I know it'll make you feel better if you see me like going to the school website, looking at the public information on there, and breaking it down, right? That's why I say like and subscribe, guys, because when you like and subscribe, it pushes the video out. We get more views, which means we lead toward monetizing and building more of a community. And that allows us to reinvest into the business, of course, and keep going forward, which means you get more information and better accessibility. More people can come, and then we can just run things a lot better, right? But once again, you don't have to pay anything right now. You get this information at a cost that a college is charging you, and they probably won't even tell you about it. So let's keep going. So typically, so University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Their graduation rate is 67%. The midpoint for four-year colleges is 58%. They have 67%. I guess that's okay. It's out of 100 point. It's out of 100% scale. So imagine if you're taking a test. As I look at things sometimes, because that's how they graded me in life. They got an F because they made a 67. The graduation rate is an F. It's a 67%. They didn't even get a C. Simple as that. I don't complicate it. And so the average annual cost at the University of Nebraska Lincoln is 17 grand. It's 17 grand. So if you know it, I stop and I get quiet. That's because I'm writing. Because I got a calculator up too. 17 grand. Let's see how accurate that is. So for the past year, because they don't have 2025 to 2026, they don't have 2025 to 2026, which makes sense because we just talked about the Reagans and increasing the tuition by 5%, right? So they're probably putting that together. But we do have the 2024 to 2025 tuition and fees. And so we're going to look at resident tuition, and I always focus on undergraduate because, guys, when you get to graduate school, it's just going to be expensive, point blank. You can find graduate schools that's affordable. Like my graduate school at Georgia State is very affordable. And that's one of the reasons why I chose them, because I felt like I could save more money by going to an affordable school and making the best of my resources there. I'm a strong believer that if you pay more, you do get more. Of course, at some schools that is the case. But in my situation, I'm paying for my school myself. So I had to do what's best for me. And I wasn't trying to go in nobody's debt and be under nobody's thumb. If I have the power to, I still suffer from it. Like I don't advise nobody to walk off of a job, but I put a 2 weeks notice in, to be exact. But I don't advise you to leave your job knowing that you have to pay back debt. But it's a different type of feeling though when you can leave a job and you don't have that much of a student loan debt. I don't have any student loan debt. I have a car note that I'm paying on, but I will give y'all details on that when that's done, because that's actually gonna be done. If everything goes right, I can tell you how it all lays out, but I like to wait until things happen before I speak on it. So the resident tuition at the University of Nebraska, oh yeah, because we got a debt-free degree. If you're new in here, we got a debt-free degree. So that's why we break this down for you. I'm showing you like how I got a debt-free degree. Um, the same breakdown that I give you is what I did when I was comparing schools like universities. There's no tool that put all the colleges in one place where you can compare costs, right? So I knew I was at a 2 year, but I used to compare 4 years before going to them. I didn't do no tours really. I should have did that. I advise everybody do tours if you're getting ready to transfer from a 2 year. Like go back through that same process, do tours, talk to people, ask people. I do highly suggest that. So resident tuition, it takes us to the bottom. So all right. So the base. So this school, the University of Nebraska, first and foremost, so their tuition per credit hour changes by program. So, for example, if you're doing like I guess general, regular, you're looking at $277 per credit hour. So if you're new in here, your tuition per credit hour is usually what gives you. It's what you have total when you're looking at your total tuition. But sometimes if you say Henry didn't add up right because they included fees. So normally I would do $277, right? Times, because you're going to be on a 12 credit hour schedule, most likely. Some of you might take 15 credit hours, but most of you are going to do 12 credit hours. And so I advise you to do 12 credit hours per semester. That will still help you graduate on time. Doing more doesn't really graduate you on time because if you happen to fail a class, which is likely if you happen to fail a class along the way in college, that hurts you more than like taking 12 credit hours of schedule, for example. And then if you want to take more, just do 12 in the fall, 12 in the spring, and take 2 classes in the summer. It's like the same pace. I did it, prime example. And so $277 times 12. That is $3,324. So another way you could do that, if I'm not mistaken, is I said 324 divided by. So if you're trying to calculate your tuition, another way you could do it is like, how much per credit hour are they charging me? My tuition is this much. Our tuition is 3,324, right? You would do 3,324 divided by 12, which gives you the tuition per credit hour, by the way. I do that sometimes, but I like to keep it simple for us. So their tuition is $3,324. That's tuition alone. Does that include the fees? No. They have that separate. So then we have to write down right now, because I'm doing the base. I'm doing their general. I'm not doing a specific program, I'm doing their general. So 3,000, what was that number, guys? That quick. 3,024. So they separated the fees. That's how they get us. Wow. Guys, they separated each fee. So I'll have to go through each fee and calculate everything. It has to be I like to say a chart. Usually schools have a chart. And then they got operational fees. Woo. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm trying to think the fastest way to do this. I'm just gonna calculate it one by one. Like this is what I would do, guys, which is bad because they know we're not gonna have the time, I guess, to just go by one and calculate the fees. So I have to go one by one and calculate the fees. Is that right by them? No, that's not right. So when I say that's not right to them. That's wrong. So $20 plus 11. Let me do this. Let me write this down because I know my calculator not that fancy on this computer. I got 20, 11, and feel free walk away if you want to come back. But 20 plus 20 plus 11 plus 20 plus 35 plus 100. International student. This is an international student fee. I'm going to include that if you are an international student watching. And then they said the library fee is 8 per credit hour amount. So I guess for every credit hour you have of a class, so 8 per credit hour. So I'm gonna just assume if you got 4 classes, that's $8.25 per credit hour, which means they didn't calculate it for us either. They did not give us a flat rate. So I'm gonna use my calculator right now. 8.25, same method, 8.25 times 8.25 times, why does it keep doing that? Clear everything. 8.25, I do times 12, times 12. That's $99. That's about right. Everything else is 100 or 99 so far. So your university program / facilities fee is $694. Whew. 690, or pretty much 695, but 694.90. That cent makes a difference. That's for fall and spring, but right now we're just doing one term. I mean one semester, because once we do one semester, that's going to tell us pretty much the whole year once we get to that part. And then your flat rate amount for summer, but we're doing fall and spring. We don't need to add that one. And your online course fee, that's for online students, but I'll include that if you're an online student, because sometimes you get charged both, depending on the school. If you taking online classes, but you're in class, they're gonna charge you for both. So we have right now 20 plus 11. That's 31 so far. Plus another 20. Plus 35. Plus 100. Plus 120. Plus 99. Plus 694. Jeez. Yeah. Plus 90. Plus 35. And I was really looking for like them to do this for us. So that's $1,224 at the University of Nebraska for mandatory fees, which means you have to pay that in order to go to the school. So once again, 33.24 plus 12.24 is 45.48. And keep in mind, guys, that doesn't include 45.48. That doesn't include room, board, or dorms, because room and board is charged separate sometimes. Room, board, dorms, and dining facility. That doesn't include that. And right now, I'm gonna see if that's all on this page. Sometimes they keep it all separate, which they did. Yeah, that's a college for you. Some people in our chat know they hide that information from you. And so if you want to look up dorm price, of course, you're going to have to type that in on the school website. Just type in like dorm or housing. Type in housing. They're going to call it housing. And so I'm going to find the housing for you right now too. If I don't find it like the next minute, I'm going to just have to go away and just assume the estimate. Because every college charges at least $2,000 or more for housing. So I'll just use the estimate of $2,000. Policies to accounts. Yeah, they're hiding it. Of course, they say no results found. Let's see. Yeah, It's pretty tough to find, which is okay. It's okay. So I'm gonna just throw in there 2,000 on top of that. So guys, we at 45.48 for tuition right now, and that's 45.48 per semester. I want you to keep in mind with me, guys. I'm gonna do ×2 right now for fall and spring semester. I'm gonna do that first, right? Then I'm gonna do a version with the housing, because usually when the college scorecard shows you, like, remember I said it's like an average cost of 17 grand for the year at their school. Usually they're factoring in like on-campus amenities. So 45.48 ×2 is for fall and spring. That's $9,000 for the year. That's 9,000. I'm gonna just say 9,000. It's got a little more, but it's just 9,000, pretty much rounded, right? That's 9,000, guys. If you are a Pell Grant student, as I always say, if you are a Pell Grant student, your Pell is literally like max 7 grand. Probably a little more, but 7 grand. So you're gonna get an estimate of 3,500 possibly. If you get the max, you are already in the hole for that year. So again, I'll bring my financial aid expert on here to break down the Pell more. Like, does it restart or it doesn't? But I don't speak heavily on financial aid. I just know for sure that first year, you're not gonna have it. And so we're gonna add on the estimate of 2 grand for housing, estimate 2 grand for meal plans, right? So for 45.48 plus 2,000, that's 65.48 plus 2,000. And that's on the low end. I want to keep in mind, that's on the low end. And because housing is usually starting out higher than that. I'm doing low end because I don't want no school trying to say, oh, his number's not accurate. Like, show me your housing. Like, it's always hard to find the housing and the dining facility plans, but I can find their tuition easily. So right now we at 8 grand for your one semester at Nebraska. This is University of Nebraska, Lincoln. So 85.48 ×2. Remember, fall and spring. You always have to include that. And so ×2 is what? About 17 grand. So just like the college scorecard, if you got it pulled up on your computer at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, I'm pretty close, right? We pretty much at 17 grand. And then, yeah. So their meal plans and housing is pretty expensive. And I only did 2 grand. I didn't include like 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 housing. I included like 2,000 low. So that's accurate, and that's pretty expensive, because if you do 17 grand times 4 over the 4 years, right? Fall and spring, the full year. So that's 4. You're looking at $68,000, $68,384 for 4 years or more. For sure more, because that's the low end of housing plans, as I always got to repeat. And so if you are a financial aid student, we're moving to the earnings. If you are a financial aid student and you've been removed from the institution and you went here, if you've been removed for 10 years, you are making about $57,000 a year. That's pretty good, because the midpoint for 4-year colleges is 53,000. So, but it's bad if you pay 68 grand or more at the school, because now you're in a hole. You're in a hole, because then you have to start paying back that 68 grand. So you're probably gonna have to take a job making over 68 grand. That makes sense? Because you want to get a good return on investment on your money. And that's when you would go to a financial advisor that can help you project like how much you should pay on your student loan so you can pay it off faster. And so where is it? We want to do graduation and retention rates. Graduation and retention rates is 67%, as we said before, but students return 83% of the time after their first year. That's pretty good. Financial aid and debt. You're looking at an estimate of 21 grand in debt. An estimate. Like your minimum debt is gonna be 21 grand if you go here. Stay on campus. Pretty much, if not staying on campus, because like I said, it was 4,000, it was 45, 48 total to go here per semester. So that makes sense. And then 34% receives federal loans. 34% receives federal loans. I wish they would show private loans, but this is Department of Education. They don't really care about federal loan. I meant private loans, which makes sense. So 80%, you were going to earn, if you go to this school, you're going to earn 80% more than someone who graduated high school. You're going to earn more than them 80% of the time. It's pretty high. It's a B. They do this out of 100%. Let's see. They're talking about. They said this is different. I think they updated this. So on the campus diversity section, they said the social economic diversity, a percentage of students who receive an income-based, a federal Pell Grant, which is intended for low-income students. Let's be clear. I literally have an interview. You can go look at it. It's with the my financial aid specialist. But that's gonna be the person I bring on more who could tell us about that. But financial aid is not only for low-income people. Let's be clear. Financial aid is not for low-income people. There are people who have middle class and high incomes that get financial aid. Not financial aid. Yeah, they get financial aid, and sometimes, in some cases, I don't know how, they get Pell. But my financial aid person, once again, as we keep growing and growing, again, like elevating the studio, he would definitely be gladly to break it down for like 15 to 30 minutes right on the screen, which is gonna be amazing. I can't wait. And so they say 22% of the time. The faculty ratio, meaning like you're gonna have, they said full-time students to full-time instructional faculty is 16 to 1. So one instructor, 16 students. I know it's not 16 people per class on this campus, so it's a big campus. And then let's go to test scores and acceptance real quick to finish out. They have the SAT and ACT. It's a requirement there. Oh, no. It says you can take the SAT and ACT, but does not require them to. They do not require it. They consider it, but they do not require it. You want to know why they don't require it no more? Because enrollment numbers have been down. They saw a big increase, a big spike in students coming to college when they didn't have to take a SAT or ACT. Yeah. So now they don't require the SAT, ACT no more. Like colleges they're not saying it, but they really need students to go to college. And so the acceptance rate here is 77%. 77%. I would go the extra mile, guys, because we still have to do the other college for Alice Marie. I would go as far as to look at their enrollment numbers, which is all on public information. But I would have to dig and find it. So, yeah. Maybe I'm considering doing it when we get off the live stream. Let's go look at this school in Germany, though, that Alex Marie told us about. Heads up, guys, this is out. This is not in the United States. So their tuition per credit hour could look completely different from ours. Everything from like language, of course. Everything is in English so far, though. Kinda. But let's do it. So I want to look for this school tuition and fees. So just like any other school, I'm going to type in what their tuition and fees and see how much they are charging. Because the currency might be different for sure. The currency is going to be like a euro, right? Like, guys, I didn't go to school for finance. It's people in finance that's still not good with other euros and other currencies. So I'm not the best with different currencies already, but I just want to see. I have a little, where is it? We don't want to know that. We want to see the price. Even in Germany, they hiding the tuition prices. Oh my goodness, gotta do better out here. Um, I wonder how much money you have to pay to make phone calls out here to inquire about if you want to go to school out the country. I wonder how, like, what's that process like? We should definitely bring people. We definitely can interview people like that who can give us an insight because I don't even know the process if I want to study in another country, like what that looks like actually get my degree in a whole another country. I do not know what that looks like. And did we have anybody in the chat saying something before I? Okay, no. We had a good screen. We had a good screen. We're having a great screen. I'm looking for the prices, guys. You can list. You can find a list with tuition fees for each program here. All right, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna just do. Let's do. What's a popular major? Let's do chemistry. I feel like everybody does chemistry a little bit. See, like right here, it says, I don't know in American dollars, but definitely in Germany. I don't know on the scale of what that looks like. I don't know if 3,000 euros is 3,000 euros, like the same as like similar to $3,000. But they said their tuition and fees for international students from third countries for this degree program are 3,000 euros per semester. So is this only from third countries? They're saying third countries, but you know, really got to upgrade my global skills. One of them for agriculture is 2,000 euros per semester. Once again, I'm not sure if that's like 2,000 per semester. But as far as that, I would look at just the tuition in another country. But they do have one thing I do notice about this school, Technical University of. Hold on.
Munich,
Of Munich, the Technical University of Munich. One thing I do notice about the school is like they have a lot of programs in one school. They even have AI in society. That's dope. I have not seen a popular college, at least. They have this engraved like set in. It seems like it's set in stone. Can I click on it? No, I can't click on it to learn more about it. But they have that program, AI in society. They have some biology courses, civil engineering. We call that dirt boy in the military. Um, and so on. They have a lot of programs at this school. Very technical, agriculture again. Usually when you hear technical, they probably have like some other programs that's technical. But that's pretty much on that because that's out the country. I appreciate everybody who attended the live stream. We went for, how long did we talk? I have no idea. We went for 2 hours again. We have been on fire. And I appreciate everybody in here. Hearts, hundreds. Even if you stop by for a split second, I appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you do stop in or tell somebody, if you feel like it was helpful, informational, please comment. If you feel like I'm missing something or I should mention something or add something, please comment in the set, leave a comment, let me know. And I always try, everything I talk about relates back to a student from when we talked about tuition hikes, the state funds, and layoffs. That's like more toward professionals, but also like your instructors, your professors. That all affects you. You know, some things not directly going to affect you with money, but it can definitely indirect affect you. So you not having a good professor or not having like your professors and your program getting cut can put you in a drastic bad situation very quick. So, I just seen on here, Alice Marie said that's the name of the school. And then she said do Auburn. We'll do Auburn tomorrow. We could do Auburn tomorrow. I will write it down now. We could do Auburn tomorrow. June 26th tomorrow. And just a heads up, guys, tomorrow I have to do some things tomorrow. So that requires me to probably not be here in the morning. And then, so I should do probably an afternoon screen, just be on the lookout. And once again, comment. And I appreciate you all for coming. And that is all. Peace. And then that's when we'll have the music. It'll just come on, like, dun, dun, be all fancy and stuff. But y'all get that part. Peace.